Hello and welcome to Radio Montelibero and MTL-TV. As you can see, we have some guests in the studio, in the podcast studio of the first club Montelibero. And we are very, very happy to welcome Daniel back from LIBERSTAD. And he is joined today by Sondre.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how to pronounce this the right way. Like, people call me Birkin, but Birkin in Russian, but actually I don't mind. What is the right way to pronounce your name?
I have no idea myself. I just say Sondre.
Still seeking.
Fine,
yeah. Okay, good. So how are you doing today, guys?
We're doing very well. So I just arrived, I think it was yesterday. I think so, 2 days ago.
Oh, really?
And then my idea was actually to surprise Halvor and Daniel.
Okay.
Without them knowing that I was coming down here, because I've been in Istanbul for this conference there.
Uh-huh.
And so I had to tell Daniel last night I was here. But we took a selfie today, and we sent it to the resident Telegram group for LIBERSTAD.
Okay.
Nobody there knew I was here. So,
That's quite a surprise.
I just got a message from John like, WTF, like, where are you now? Where was this photo taken?
Nice, nice.
Yeah, it was super nice. I was walking down the street to this cafe that you have, and I could see Daniel from a mile away, and I was just standing behind him, and then so
cool.
It's really nice coming here.
Yes.
Okay. Well, how did you find Montelibero? Like, not on the map, but like...
It actually was, I think it's one of the French guy that has been living in LIBERSTAD. Killian is his name. I think he was the first one that sort of mentioned Montelibero for us up in LIBERSTAD. So we started talking on Telegram about it. I think I looked through the messages. I've had a lot of contacts with Anton. And I think we started talking together in 2021.
Oh.
And so it's like I remember like I came. Daniel took me on a trip to Montelibero city for the first time today. Super nice seeing it, and I just remember watching the photos when they built the initial road going in there. We're digging it and putting down the concrete there, and it was super nice being coming here and visiting and seeing it.
Yeah, exactly. It's nothing like in the photos, like you have to see it live. So guys, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, you've got to see it for yourself.
Yeah.
Amazing views.
Well, the reason why Sondre has started talking about LIBERSTAD is because he is actually one of the founders of LIBERSTAD, and I was hoping you'd be able to enlighten us in terms of like how LIBERSTAD started and what LIBERSTAD is like today.
Yeah, I'll do that. Start from the beginning.
Yeah.
So I've been, I don't remember how long I've been an anarchist or like anarcho-capitalist. These days I only call myself a voluntarist. I just want to use the term voluntarist because it's super easy. It's all about voluntary interaction between humans and no threats and no force. And I used to live in Oslo for 4 years, and we had a fairly, not big, but it was like a community of anarcho-capitalists and libertarians. And you used to have meetings like once a month. And then when I moved back home to my hometown in Vennesla, I wanted to see if there was any community in Kristiansand for these people. And there was 2 guys. One of them was just anonymous that I've been talking with for a few years. So I invited them to a cafe in Kristiansand. So we went to this cafe. That's the first time I met John. First time I heard his real name.
So that's the anonymous guy.
Yeah. Oh. So that was the first time I met John, and then we started talking together. And I think it was like less than a year after we first met, we started sort of forming the idea about LIBERSTAD. And the main thing is that like John had this idea about getting away from the city life, and he wanted to like move to a farm, but he thought about the idea was like, it's not that interesting to live alone on a farm. You're not powerful. Anyone can, like the government can come and take you at any time if you're just a single person, individual, or a single family. So that's the way we started developing the idea. And then I think probably John who came up with the name LIBERSTAD. And then we formed the idea. We were actually looking for properties internationally in the beginning, not in Norway. And then I think suddenly we just put the both of us just figure out, maybe we could do it in Norway. I mean, we have the firewood here, we have water available and everything. So we ended up looking for farms around Norway. We found a farm that we ended up buying for LIBERSTAD.
And it's huge, actually.
It's very huge. And so we came there, we rented the whole farm for 1 year while we did the pre-sale. Initially, we only sold it for Norwegian krone, and then we opened up sales for Bitcoin 7 years ago. And then we got a lot of interest. It was published on like bitcoin.com, Bitcoin Magazine, Cointelegraph, and other sites. So we were able to easily sell within a year. It was sold very cheaply, the properties, because there's a lot of risk, obviously, because we didn't even own the property at that time. But we got all the money. We purchased the property 1st of June 2017. And after that, we just been developing the land. We had one excavator in the beginning. Now we have 2 excavators, we have a dump truck. So we're building our own roads, renovating buildings and everything. And that's basically it. That's how it got started.
Nice. Yeah, and you can only realize how far you've come just by looking at the pictures of a year ago, from 2 years ago, etc. Like that's what happened to us, because I've been here for more than 2 years now. And again, as you said, I remember MTL City like as just, I don't know, some bushes and trees and nothing else. Like there was not even a road. And now I look at it, and I look at the pictures from 1 year ago or from 2 years ago, and I just can't but wonder, like how did it happen, like in 2 years' time? So what can you tell us about the development of LIBERSTAD? Like how far have you come to like building it as a city?
Yeah, I mean we've come less than I was envisioning in the beginning. But it's nice that we've been taking it slowly, because we've been developing sort of our ideas better. And I think like it takes time to evolve as a human and understand the ideas and everything. So it's like everything is getting more and more pure in a way. And the philosophy and our ideas become more and more pure and more singular and focused. Right? Initially, we thought that maybe we could do some zoning and regulation with the government and have some communication with the government, but these days we understand that the only way to get the most amount of freedom, we just have to understand that we are free. I mean, you're born free, and you don't need to ask anyone for permission for freedom. So we're not going to be asking the government of Norway for freedom. We are free, and we own the property. We have papers that we bought this property, and it is our land, and we control it, and we decide the rules there. And that's basically it. We don't recognize the Norwegian government to have any authority on any level in LIBERSTAD. It's a free city, and that's the way we believe it. And and it's based on like this moral view, right? The ethics of non-aggression principle and voluntarism. And it's like it's deep founded in your body, right? It's like if you're a religious person, right? It's more than just in your mind. It becomes part of your body. And it's the same thing I think about like the way me and John have sort of developed our ideas and understanding about voluntarism. It becomes a life changing thing that's just deep-seated and deep-rooted in your body and your fundamental ethics and morality in your life. So there's no way we can't go back again. Like there's no way we can make any negotiations with the government. Like we're dedicated for life for this, and the only way they're gonna stop us is to come up and stop us physically. And like we're non-violent people, we're very friendly, and we don't want issues or problems at all. We don't hurt people, we don't make noises or anything, right? So I want to just quickly give this analogy or example. Like we're a bunch of people living on this globe spinning around, right? This blue globe with water on it, and we're in a solar system that's on the end of a very big galaxy. And when you look at it on this perspective, right, just going out into space, and then you have these people who work for the municipality or the government, and they believe that they have authority over you to tell you like you need to follow these rules, you need to do this, you need to pay this tax and whatever, right? It's like it's completely ridiculous.
Exactly.
And the thing is like these people, they come to you and they say, oh, you need to send me papers to ask me for permission to do what you want on your property. And not only that, you need to pay these people, right? You need to pay for applying for an extension to your house or whatever you want to do on your own private property. And it's completely ridiculous. It's insane. It's just insane. And I think it's so sad that we are at that stage. And humanity, we need to evolve. We need to get further than this. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about passports and the passport system from a century ago, and people really didn't need passports or like visas. Like the first visas like probably started after the First World War, probably. And I'm trying to imagine life as I move, as I travel all over the world, visa free, because people ask me because they asked me to come over, if you guys wanted me to come over to your place for a bit, so I could stay there and then come back, and then I would go to Liberland. How great would that be? And we're hoping to make it a reality, of course, because we've had Viti Erlichka from Liberland here in the studio, and he said he is going to make sure that it becomes a reality, that we, for example, owning Russian passports, for example, or Ukrainian passports, will be able to go to Liberland visa-free because they asked us to. And it's as simple as that. Like we're losing this sense of simple human communication, and we're getting further and further away from this with all the bureaucrats and all the red tape and everything. Yeah. Well, I have a question for Daniel, if you don't mind. You can also, piggyback on whatever Daniel has to say. How did the people of Liberstad, the residents of Liberstad, actually perceive this new development that you want to crystallize the idea of Liberstad? Was everyone happy that you're going to just reject government as it is? Maybe some people were like, oh, maybe we should still negotiate with them?
No. I think also going from this what Sondre said, anarchy ANCAP into voluntarism, I think it's more accepted even by some of our people that were a bit like, but there were always no, we are free people and we don't need government. That's the base where we all stand up. And if you start thinking like that, that's old saying that if you leave your house, you cannot go back. It's saying that if you open your eyes, then you cannot go back. You see it. You see that the government is something evil, something that must not be. And all the people that live there, they have seen that. So I think it's a good thing that's also we evolve, and that's what we keep doing. Yeah. So it's a good evolution going on.
But actually, we announced this on the ownership group on Telegram. Liberstad have been fairly closed in terms of communication in the last few years. It's only you need to be a member of the Libertarian membership organization to actually get any information at all. We have the blog, which is public, but most information has been only for members, because it takes a lot of time to have the community and handle everything, especially when it's public. So we're going to be a lot more public going forward. So we're going to make a new website. It's going to be a lot more information available. But we sort of mentioned this on the ownership group, as we were talking about. And yes, we got some feedback from people that's, maybe you shouldn't do this. Maybe you should try to negotiate a little bit more with the municipality or the government, blah, blah. It's but we're not going to do that. And the things whenever I get a question now, people, they ask me, you're free in Norway, right? What is the Norwegian government going to think about that? They're going to come and stop you? You're asking the wrong question. Wait a minute, right? You're asking one question. You're already recognizing that the government have power over us, right? So I'm not gonna like answer your question, because you're basically standing there telling me that you think that these people, because the state is just people, it's just a bunch of people. I think they have some rights over other people. You're saying that these people have rights over me. That's what you're asking me. You're not asking me really if I'm afraid of them. You're just stating that you believe this is real, and I'm just saying to them that no, I don't acknowledge their power. I think everybody is just humans, and some humans believe in fairy tales, and they believe in these mental constructs about borders, right? We're in Montenegro right now, right? This is my first time here, a beautiful country. I was listening to this podcast, Norwegian podcast about different countries, and they were talking about Montenegro. And it's basically like the western part of Norway with a Mediterranean climate and much cheaper prices. It's super nice there. But if you go to the border between Albania and Montenegro, right? Is there a border? Can you see, like, is there a fence or something, right? There's nothing. It's just a mental construct that someone made it. There's a border, and you need this passport to go from this country to this country. And that's just one of the many mental constructs that we learn as children. We learn that, understand that, oh, the government and the state have some rights that we don't have. The police they put on a uniform, and suddenly they have more rights than us. They can jail us. Right? That's just makes sense. And then also the financial system and a lot of other things. So we come up with the concept about the unfree world, which is the world that exists today. And then you have the new free world that you can become a member of. And you can become a part of that. You don't need to move to Montelibero or LIBERSTAD or Liberland or like Prospera in Honduras. You can if you just get rid of those concepts in your mind, you can free yourself. And I think that, like, the Matrix is a very good example on this. I can't tell people to change, and I don't think that actually people change in their lives. I only think they find themselves, and most people don't find themselves because they start this journey and they end up and they're stuck somewhere. But to really you need to free yourself, and when you free yourself, then you can start looking at communities like Montelibero and LIBERSTAD. And I think that's also an area that both of our projects need to improve a lot, because there's people waking up all the time, especially after COVID and the restrictions and everything. People are waking up more, but where should they go, right? We need to have information that is very accessible, that shows them how to what should you read, what kind of material exists, or say what kind of books and podcasts should you read, like this podcast here, right here and now. And then also, like, we need to get more information out to people to build stronger and become better, more people, because that's the main idea behind LIBERSTAD, is just get more people together, because we're stronger together instead of being separate cells everywhere in our own apartment somewhere surrounded by all these socialists and statists everywhere. If we're together, we're much stronger, and there's so many mechanisms we can adopt to become strong within our community. So like in LIBERSTAD, like we don't use Norwegian krona. We don't price stuff in Norwegian krona. I saw like here in Montelibero, you're using euros, right? In
Montelibero we actually use your MTL, which is set to
that's correct. Because the places I've gone to, right, you can pay in regular euro, I guess, and euro MTL. But I think, like, you need to separate yourselves completely from the existing systems, and we need to replace all the systems that exists today, right? As soon as we integrate with the existing economy, any government can come and like regulate you a lot more, because they're going to say that, oh, you're using this fiat currency, and we are the state that issued this money, so you need to follow the rules that applies to this money, right? So that's why we need to come up with our own currency. And we need to make our own systems for basically everything, and that's a lot of work. And I think we like Daniel coming down here, and Halvor was also here before, and also me coming here now. I think it's super important that we integrate our communities much better together. I met Witt, like the president of Liberland, multiple times. I met him last time now in Prague for the Liberty in a Lifetime, Free Cities Foundation conference. And like and we have more Telegram groups now together, so we need to like really work together. And I think strength comes in numbers, and we just need to grow and grow and grow. And like Vitti told me that he wanted us to be more quiet and just grow in silence. But like me and John is like, we're done with that now. We need to be more public. We need to be more open, because we need to. We can't just wait for change, right? That's why we started LIBERSTAD, right? We were tired of being internet warrior, keyboard warriors. We need to make a change in the world, and
I think the time has come.
Yeah,
like,
the time has come.
You can see these communities popping up here and there. Like I don't remember. Like I do remember hearing about Prospera and other communities in Latin America, I think, but not until I actually went on this website, Free City Communities, that I actually learned about you guys, about Liberland, and about some other communities in Germany. I think they're planning on doing something. So yeah, it feels like the time has come, and we need to kind of go public. But this is the paradox, maybe like not a paradox, but a little bit of a contradiction, because we are also private. Like we try to keep things close and private and close to us, but at the same time we know that unless we start to go public, unless we start making the splash, right, and setting up the studio, for example, by doing whatever, like meeting other people, we're going to end up alone. So we still need to do this. So hence the question: how do you figure out which stuff to keep private and which stuff to go public with?
It's impossible to know. It's like it's like one of the reasons why we kept quiet now for a few years. Like we blew up some mountain to get some materials for constructing roads, and we put it right on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the people in the municipality, they saw these videos, and then they came up for an inspection. So we've been sort of communicating with the municipality for some years now. It was pretty quiet after COVID. I mean, we want to have like a friendly communication with them, as long as it's fairly reasonable demands or whatever. But eventually it won't be reasonable, because the thing is like in Norway you have it's called like property tax, right?
Right.
And a farm in Norway it's valued fairly low, so it's fairly low property tax. But if LIBERSTAD is developed and there's like 100 or let's say 200 people living there, there's multiple buildings there, the property tax itself will be more than internal economy eventually, right? So we won't be able to pay that, right? So like a conflict will come eventually. So, and it's going to be very hard to sort of balance how much should you say publicly and how much should you keep private. And I think I just think that we need to push on, because we need to check where are the limits, and some of us is going to get into real trouble, which is a very clear example with stuff like that's been happening in New Hampshire for the Free State Project.
Yep.
I don't remember his name right now, but they were running the Bitcoin ATMs and stuff, and they did some other stuff there, and they got raided, right? And they're going to get jail time, and it's so important. Like it's I don't want anyone to sort of sacrifice their life for freedom, but it's obviously that we need to do it, and we can't be afraid of it. So it's going to be a sacrifice for some people, but we need to push the limits and see where we can go, or else we're just going to be status quo forever.
Do you think it would have been easier if you, for example, had moved all to El Salvador, where the Bitcoin is a currency, like it's a digital currency, but it's as legal as the US dollar, for example, which I think is also in circulation?
No, I don't think so. I don't know what the tax system is there in El Salvador, but I'm pretty sure they have tax on like income. Maybe they don't. But it's like there's like multiple ways of getting freedom, and I support all projects. Like Libertarian have their own philosophy and methodology. Prospera is doing the CD, and I support everybody. I mean, we need to try multiple different ways of doing it. But I have friends who like in Norway recently, a lot of billionaires have migrated to Switzerland, right? I think it's like 30 or 35 billionaires have migrated out of Norway due to tax regulations. So that's a way of sort of doing a political statement to get away and show that you're unhappy about the situation. And there's people moving to other countries to have less tax on their Bitcoin. And it's like, I don't judge anyone because we only have one life.
Yeah.
So if you want to move somewhere and live a different life, but you still want to live among socialists and statists around you, go ahead and do it. You get a little bit more freedom. But for myself, right, I wasted basically all my belongings and all my money on Libertad. And then I have a friends who just saved all their stuff and they're rich and well off now. But I'm so much more richer in the feeling of freedom. And I think Daniel is. You can say a little bit about it now, and it's like the feeling we have when we come to Libertad. I remember so well when we first got started. I forgot I had a phone with me. I had it in my pocket. Right, you come to Libertad in the summertime, the beautiful landscape and the nature, and the people there. You get lost, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I think it's also you have the individual, and that's important. And every individual must for himself find his freedom, and when he does, then he is open for projects like Liberstad and Montelibero and Liberland, and that's a reason to exist, to people that as individuals find freedom and indeed find that it's a struggle, but I'm not alone. No, and that's important, and that's what because that's for me. I struggled for this my own freedom, and I found myself on my own years ago. No, I'm a free man, and no one can tell me anything, and that's why I'm very glad that in the end I stumbled upon Liberstad, and I could go to a place where there were people thinking the same like me, and that's very important. But people themselves have to open their eyes. You cannot do them for them.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's no way back when you've already got the taste of freedom.
Yeah.
It's just that I had this idea, and we take pride in the fact that we are a decentralized system. Like basically, there's no one who is in charge in Montelibero. Like there is a collection of people like scattered all over the world who make decisions, not unilateral, but they need to agree on things, on what to do and how to develop a project, for example, in MTL-TV. But do you think it would have been better as a thought experiment if all libertarians of the world united in one place and actually started their own state or something like this?
Yes, but we don't need to make a state. But we've already done this.
I mean, yeah, like I realized that
we came up with something called the World Voluntarist Organization.
Oh, really?
So we're going to be launching the website soon.
Cool.
I don't know what the form is going to be. If it's going to be like a pyramid, because there's negative connotations to a pyramid, or if it's going to be like what kind of shape it becomes, or a cloud or whatever. But the thing is, like, this World Voluntarist Organization is going to be like, it's just a pure idea about voluntarism, like voluntary human interactions, and the idea is to sort of collect all those different projects that is voluntarist. So it won't include stuff that's libertarian focused, but it's going to have to be a voluntarist focused. And the main purpose of it is to it's going to be like a non-profit thing, but it's a way of sort of joining people together in a common cause that is global, because we're all individualists, and we don't necessarily work together that much. I think we're compatible to work together, but it's not in our nature to sort of sacrifice ourselves for the group in a way. I think, like, for myself and for John's sake, I mean, we're sacrificing ourselves for Libertad and building this community, and like we've lived our life already, and we're getting at that age that like we can sacrifice ourselves for others to build this community. And I think like we need to get together and work together, and I was at the lunch earlier today with other Monteliberians, and we talked about this exact thing. It's like there's been, I think it was like 100 years ago or something, like 200 years ago, the communist people had this collaboration together, so you could travel like to different countries, and you would have places where you could stay, so housing and etc. So that's the thing we need to do also in our circles, in voluntarism and anarcho-capitalism. We need to. So what we're gonna do, like even today, like in Libertad, we have rooms where you can rent and you can stay, and maybe we can make some agreements that sort of like if you're a known voluntarist, you could get like a really good discount compared to other people, and yeah, so we need to like. If you're a resident of Libertad, you should be able to just pack your bag, go to Montelibero, to Montenegro, and you could get housing here, and you will get a job, and you will have a reputation here already. Right? We need to have a reputation system based on cryptography, where you can build a reputation in any place, and you can bring that with you. Right? So if you go to Prospera or Liberland, right? You don't start from scratch. You already had good resumes from Daniel and me, and right, something like that. And I think that's super important to just build this network where we support each other, because there's climate stuff going on, right? We have actually snow in Norway, right? I don't think you have much snow here.
Yeah.
But like snow is nice, but not everybody likes snow. So sometimes you want to move to a better climate. And then if you're living in a regular society in the unfree world, you will be moving to another country. They don't speak your language. They don't have the same culture. You don't really share anything with them, and you might need to like go and find a job. But if you are part of this libertarian or voluntarist or whatever you want to call it movement, and you have this reputation already built, right?
Yeah.
So people are so friendly, and you get connected so quickly, and I think that's
Sure,
very
absolutely.
valuable.
That's what I noticed. Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and this is why Daniel is here, and he's going to build a reputation here. Like, of course, he's already transferred his reputation over here, and this is how he will be able to vouch for any one of us.
Yes.
Probably. Yes, but it's so fascinating that you're actually talking about something that we've been developing for quite some time here, and like we've been talking, behind closed doors, so to speak. Well, the reputation system and the ability to actually communicate with people, other communities, other societies, etc. So it's great that we are thinking in sync.
Yeah, but that's a good thing you mentioned this thing, because when I went to like Istanbul now. It was like a Web3 conference, Susala, SuConnect. Mm-hmm. Vitalik is one of the guys who's behind it. He also did a pop-up city here in Montenegro, I think earlier this year. And it's basically a pop-up city that he did in Istanbul. And I just realized, like, I've been to like Bitcoin conferences, like libertarian stuff, and then have this Web3 stuff. And everyone is very isolated and doing the same things. And they don't really want to share. It's like I was listening to this social media talk, and they mentioned Farcaster and some other stuff, and they said like we need to build this and this. And it's like, but it's already exists on Nostr. I've built a Nostr client myself, and it's like Nostr is there. You have the Reddit, like clones of Reddit and like discussion forums, and it's all run on Nostr. It's already there. Just adopt it, start using it. But I think like everybody's like. Not invented here syndrome, as they call it, right? So a lot of especially developers and technologists, we want to make it our own, right? And I want to mention that, like in Libertad, we have this blockchain called CityChain, and we use CityCoin, and we use it all the time for all payments, because we don't want to use anything that's related to the fiat currency and the Norwegian krone. But it's just it's a blockchain where I started. It's probably it's 5 years ago. And it's a lot of work. So I'm basically looking for alternative solutions where there's a bigger ecosystem around it, and I think that's a place where we could start working together, because today like Montelibero is using Stellar blockchain, and then you have Liberland. They launched a new blockchain recently, which is based on Polkadots. Or blockchain is basically based on Bitcoin, but with proof of stake instead of proof of work. And I don't know if it's possible to get us to work together, but I think it might be a very good idea to get us to work together. And we have very different needs, though. Like Liberland, as you mentioned, like they want to give passports. They are a state, right? LIBERSTAD is a free city, and there's a lot of things that we don't want to do. We will never give passports to people. That's not in our interest, and that's not what we're about at all. But I think we should find some more common grounds in terms of technology to work together.
Yeah, why reinvent the wheel all the time?
Yeah, that's what we've been talking about. But do you think there's a way to be able to combine these systems to make them work together?
I don't know. They already integrate fairly well together. As long as you go through Bitcoin, there's exchanges you can work. Like right now, we're using atomic swaps for Citycoin, so you can just do atomic swap directly from Bitcoin to Citycoin, without any centralized exchanges, no KUC or anything, right? And it's completely trustless. And so you can do that. You can go from Citycoin to Bitcoin, and then from Bitcoin to Stellar or Lumen, and then you get into the Montelibero ecosystem. And it's the similar route you would go into because Liberland launched Liberland dollars, and they had the merits from before. And it's a similar routes. So I think there's no single technology that can cover all our needs, but I think still we need to find where we can integrate and work better together to do not waste too much time. Because I was in this panel debate in Istanbul, and I said I feel like I've wasted a lot of time last few years developing this stuff, because there's a lot of things that I should rather spend my time on than sit on the computer all the time and do coding. I love doing open source programming, but it's also important to build LIBERSTAD and communicate with the communities and work together.
Did I understand you right? Do you actually develop this whole system single-handedly?
It's a fork of something called Stratis originally, and they had an ICO many years ago, and they made a Bitcoin implementation in .NET, and that's basically what we forked the code from there. So the city chain is completely compatible with Bitcoin. So any basically like a wallet or an indexer or whatever, it's very easily adaptable for city chain if it's supported by Bitcoin.
Nice. Okay, well, here's hoping that we can still integrate. At least we can choose one platform somehow that would be able to, meet our needs. I mean, we do have different needs, but we can still come up with a platform that would, be the common ground for us, and that we would be able to swap, our tokens.
Yeah, I'll mention that. So my focus have always been on building stuff on top of the blockchain, decentralized software. It's like my mantra. And one of the things we're utilizing a lot in LIBERSTAD now is the decentralized identities, which is like a W3 open standard that was ratified, I think, early this year or late last year, and that will be the foundation for a lot of things going forward. And I think also like Montelibero and Liberland, they need to adopt DIDs, and there's going to be a lot of effort put into DIDs, and it's a type of identity where you own the keys and you own the ownership to your identity. And the second part of it is the verifiable credentials, which is basically like a signed statement that you make, where you signed a statement with the key you have for your identity. And the last part, which is TBD is working on, which is a startup that Jack Dorsey financed after he quit Twitter, and they're working on, they call it like Web 5 technology, and they're working on something called decentralized web node. And it's basically, instead of everyone storing our data in a cloud with x.com or Facebook or whatever, instead the web will just be a UI. So if you go on the x.com in the future and I send you a DM,
Okay.
It will go directly to your personal decentralized web node that you might run in the cloud, and it might be synced to your phone in your pocket.
Wow.
And that's where all your data is stored.
So it's end-to-end.
All your receipt, all your contracts, all your favorite music, favorite movies, all your DMs, and everything, all your data will be stored in these decentralized web nodes. And you can have multiple. And some of them might store all your data. Some of them might just store like your offline music while you're flying, for example. You want to have your music available. And this is super interesting because this is also insanely scalable.
Yeah.
Because when we were communicating over x.com is just a UI. But the messages is sent to your inbox and then back to my inbox, right? And it doesn't really touch any centralized service. It might touch like some website on each end or something, and this will scale really well. But the ownership to the data will be yours and mine, and it won't be x.com or Facebook or Meta that owns our DMs. We just have a copy, both of us, and I think that's super important. And like in LIBERSTAD, I'm setting up. We have our own server internally where we share all media, ebooks, whatever. We're also running our own Noster relay. It's a private login, so it's only internal for us, for example. And I think there's and we have the decentralized identities. We're going to use it for NFC cards for access control. So when you go to the kiosk to buy some groceries, you just use this card, open a door. It's registered that you open a door. You go pick your food, and you scan your food with a QR with a barcode scanner, and you pay with the card, and then you leave, right? And it's based all on decentralized identities. And it's the same with ownership in stocks, in companies, in LIBERSTAD. You do this on decentralized identities, and you can make as money as you want. You're not restricted to one identity. And which brings me into a topic I just want to quickly mention. It's like we encourage people to not use their government-issued ID in LIBERSTAD. Come up with your own name. Right? You can keep your first name, but myself, I have multiple identities, right? So if anyone want to try to find me, right, the government issue name doesn't exist in LIBERSTAD. It's something else, right? And the stocks I own in LIBERSTAD is also under a different identity. I have no connection with my real name, right? Or the other names I'm using. So that's a way of sort of building layers of security around you. So you're not isolated as a single entity that they can come and take away from you. Right? You separate it, you decentralize it. So you decentralize identities, you decentralize data, you decentralize ownership, and you tokenize stuff, and you just make everything fragmented. That's what you should make everything fragmented. So we as humans, we should exist in multiple places, and we should have multiple communities.
That kind of makes sense, but again, as soon as you have your mobile device near you, all of these fragments are going to come together, and the government will know that you're here, especially if you use geo navigation system,
Yes.
GPS, etc. So, what do I do if I'm invited to LIBERSTAD? Do I take my phone with me, or is it off ground?
Yeah, you can take your phone with you, but you'll forget it. It's in your pocket. And eventually we go run out of batteries while you're discussing with Dan and other people there. Because the conversations you're going to have is completely different than any conversation you ever had with a socialist or statist.
Of course.
You're going to be sitting there until...
Just don't stand near his Tesla, because his Tesla is listening to us.
Yeah, my car is probably listening to it. No, it's like
if I'm tired of all this anarchist bullshit, I will just go to your Tesla, Sondre's Tesla, and ask the government for help. Please take me back to.
My car actually, my car plates is actually anarchy.
Yes,
it says
we've
anarchy,
seen that.
so.
Yeah, it's very cool. Cool.
We do joke about that. If there's a Tesla in town with open windows standing there, and we're sitting close talking, don't talk too much.
They might be listening in.
I mean, it's very clear that the phones are listening to people.
Yeah, the phones do. They do that.
Well, the battery is dead, so it's not.
And it's like basically when you're using Google Maps, right? all communication that goes into the US goes through NSA data center.
Oh,
It's the
gosh.
same in the UK. And now recently they changed the laws in Norway, so the intelligence service of
Yeah,
Norway,
same-
they
same
log
in-
everything now.
Oh, God.
Same in the Netherlands.
Yeah, same in the Netherlands. So the thing is like their arguments, they're only storing metadata, and the idea is like they want to log all foreigners communicating into Norway. But the thing is like all Norwegians using Telegram, you go out of Norway and then back to Norway again.
Yep.
So they
Yep.
get all that data and they're allowed to do it right. And they implemented this, of course, right around a summer holiday. That's the best time to implement controversial law changes.
Yeah,
And they
because
did
everyone's
this.
on holiday.
So I think
yeah.
like that's also a thing we need to work on is digital devices and platforms for communicating. That's why I like Noster, for example. But we need even better tools to make people to be anonymous online. Basically, I think it's like human rights. I don't believe in human rights as per definition. It's natural rights, but I think like
Yep.
it's important that people have a right to communicate freely online without any restrictions at all. If there's even a slight chance of someone being able to know that you said this, right?
Mhm.
Then you're censoring yourself
Yep.
automatically.
Yep.
And like even just the slightest thought that you can be censored, you can be will make you censor yourself. But today, the way the media works with Facebook, you know it so well that you can't speak your mind. So as humanity, we're so restricted in the ideas we share, the thoughts we exchange with each other, and that's just a massive loss for humanity that we can't speak our mind.
Free speech is no more. Yeah.
Well, this is where all these, podcast studios, etc., and alternative content with alternative news come in handy. Hence, my question to Sondre: you said before we started recording that you're planning on setting up a little studio of your own. So, what kind of content are you going to produce there?
It will be self-censored.
Sure. You see?
Because I know already, like there's certain topics I don't talk about already in social media. Because I know that you have these different movements in Norway, like the narcotics discussion, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of people who want to legalize certain narcotics in Norway.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to engage with that discussion at all because I know that you can get in trouble for saying stuff.
Yep.
So I don't really even talk about it.
It's really sad.
So that's the topic I don't want to talk about on my podcast. But what we will talk about in the podcast is like we need to stick out in the crowd because there's a lot of content online, and I have a lot of ideas. I like to always to be like controversial in a way. I never follow the flow in my ideas and my thoughts, and I want to interview people that is special, and I want to take them places and get them to express thoughts that they've never done before on the podcast. That's my goal. I want to lead them and go somewhere where they're not just talking about the stuff they usually do.
Mm-hmm.
And it would be fun to be able to have a podcast where people they feel so open when they're being interviewed that when they're done, they sort of regret it because maybe I said too much right now.
So the Joe Rogan of voluntary, what do you call it? Volunteerism.
Volunteerism.
Yes.
And you're a voluntarist.
Yes.
when you
Yes.
follow it.
I need to learn this word.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's not the best word because there's a lot of people, especially people who haven't read about it, they confuse it with voluntarist.
Yes.
It's like voluntarism. It's very similar when I say
Yeah,
it, right?
yeah,
but
yeah,
it's
exactly.
like voluntary work, right? You're
Yes, it's
contributing your energy to do something without getting paid for it.
Sure.
It's
It's
very
a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite a lot. And I've seen this word on your website, so you kind of probably think it's very important to kind of distinguish yourself from people who call themselves libertarians or anarcho-capitalists, etc.
Like we don't distance ourselves at all from anarcho-capitalists.
Okay.
I mean, we're very much anarcho-capitalists, and we follow the whole teachings of Murray Rothbard And
So is it just marketing?
it's not just marketing, but I think it's partially marketing. But I think like the older you get, the more focused you want to become. And like I was one of the co-founders of Ludwig von Mises Institute in Norway, and I read a lot of like the texts and the books by Mises and Rothbard and Hoppe and other texts, and it can get like fairly complex when you start talking about economics, and you're gonna lose people very quickly, and you're losing people when you start talking about anarchy. You lose people when you start talking about capitalism. But everybody is like, oh, voluntary stuff. Oh, that yes, I agree. And a lot of people I've talked to, they agree like, yes, I agree that we should have voluntary interaction in our family, with our children, with our spouse or partner. And I say, oh yeah, and okay, yeah, I agree. Like I go to work voluntary, I get voluntary pay, I agree voluntary to the rules of work. I have voluntary interactions with my neighbor, but that's where it stops. And it's like, oh, but we can't have a voluntary state. We can't organize bigger than those things.
Why not?
Exactly. There's no physical or fundamental
limit.
There's no cap on it. But I believe the cap is on cities. I don't know how big a city can be, but like me and John talked about this a lot before, that we believe that the best way of organizing humanity is in cities. And then you can have one city, it might be a complete Muslim city, right? You're not allowed to live there as an atheist. Another city could be an atheist city, Christian city, voluntarist city, communist city, right? And I think that people will be so more happy, because we are not all friends. We can't not all agree. It's like I became vegan almost 10 years ago, and everybody thinks like I'm friendly with all vegans, right? Just because I'm vegan. I'm not friendly with all libertarians just because I'm a libertarian. And but some people believe that, and I think it's important to wake up and understand that we're all very different. So we need to have multiple options to choose from. And now all of Europe is becoming like this homogeneous society, and we have the same rules everywhere. And I don't think that's a good development at all. It removes culture and individual identity. That's not good.
I actually had a couple of questions about education, because when it comes to building a better world, we also need to think about children and families, and because this is something that we started with today. We talked about children being sort of indoctrinated into believing stuff that they would have to free themselves from later on. Like I remember Halvard talking about himself, and he said exactly the same thing that you mentioned earlier. He said, I woke up, right? So I started to notice things, and then I woke up. Is there any plan that you have on how to change people's minds, especially teenagers, for example? Because it's very easy, I think, to work with minds, with teenagers, because their minds are sort of bendable, maybe this should be our priority, especially since you said that this is a work of your lifetime, and this is something that you think of as a legacy for future generations.
Yeah.
So do you have any idea what to do and how to?
Yeah. There's yes. I don't think we as a whole movement at the current time has enough resources and people to change teenagers that exist today. I ran a blog called Without the State in Norwegian, and I actually got an email from some students that was talking politics, and one of the groups was writing about anarchy. Right. So they was asking if they could use the content from my blog and stuff, and that was super cool. But I think like we need to just start by making a lot of babies. We need to make more humans, and an example is with like John's children. He has a daughter, Sindel, and a son called Toraxel, and both of them is doing homeschooling now, and it's fairly liberal to do homeschooling in Norway. They went to public school earlier, and that's also a good way of actually changing other kids. If you like instill the values about libertarianism and voluntarism into your kids, and you send them to public school, right? Those kids will influence the other kids, because they're gonna
Exactly.
in so many manners. Tor Axel, for example, he did a presentation about Bitcoin in class. It's a good example. And I have a daughter myself, and she's 12 now, and they have this political weeks in school where each should represent a different party, and at the end of it, they were supposed to vote, right? And I haven't sort of influenced my daughter that much, but I give her some principles so she understands certain things automatically. And one of the things is like, if you're voting, you're giving away your right to control your own life. You're basically saying that I believe that you as a politician know better than me, so here I give you my vote so you can control my life, right? So when it came to the voting in the class, my daughter said, no, I don't want to vote. And the teacher said, oh, you have to vote. Everybody has to vote.
Ridiculous.
And he said, you can vote blank if you want to, right? Because that's an option when in elections, there's a blank vote. You can vote blank and say, no, I don't want to vote. No, you have to vote. And then actually, the same day, the teacher called me at home and said she was sorry because she got agitated at her daughter because she didn't want to vote. And I think that's so. I don't think it's a good idea to send your kids to public school, but it's a good way. Like if we're many enough, right? Some of us will in the community send them to public school, and I think they can influence other kids. But I think the most important thing we can do is just get more kids and educate our children from the beginning. And I think the most important way to do that is actually live in a free city and let them grow in a different society. Because if they're growing up in a big city, right, and that's what you're going to grow up at. And recently, I've understood that I need to become. Because I was in Istanbul at the airport, and then I tweeted that I'm surrounded by humans are all billboards for large corporations. We're walking around with Adidas, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, right? We're billboards for these corporations. And it's like, and people are paying to buy this advertisement on their shirt.
Should I say thank you for
Yes.
wearing these polo and sweatshirts?
So from now on, I've decided I'm only going to be wearing
These kinds of things.
t-shirts and shirts.
I already was that far that you hardly see me walking around with any branding or any texts on me, other than just stupid things like some music thing but
Yeah, these are my thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
You see,
Yeah,
like I'm not
yeah.
wearing any brands.
Yeah.
I find it
You should have a good message on it. Like it's important. To
Exactly.
So from now on, I'm only gonna buy T-shirts and I'm gonna design some T-shirts with some good slogans on the back. I'm gonna use that everywhere because I want to be a poster myself, but
Yeah.
for freedom and voluntarism and good ideas.
And
Yeah, that's good,
I
thank
think
you.
also about the children. I think we ourselves we have the knowledge ourselves. We have the skills. Also, some of us in our communities to teach our children. And that falls into the whole thing with reputation and trust. Who can we trust to have our kids for once a week together with this person, and this person will go do things that learns this kids things. And that's a normal thing. Skills you can learn them at school, because I worked as a mechanic, welder, and all that kinds of things, and I didn't learn it at school. I came from school and I was hardly electrician. That's all. But I learned everything I know by just learning it from other people. So that's also something we should think about. We should educate our own kids and take them away from public school. Because in a way, I always saw, already for years, I saw it with my own kids, you kind of give your kids away to a government institute. And the government institute will program them into believing all the bullshit of the government.
Yeah. And this is where all these concepts of voting, etc., are deeply ingrained, and this is how they become like these zombies. Technically, they're brainwashed. yeah, a lot of people here are homeschooled, and not only are they homeschooled, but they also unschooled in many ways. Like we try to give them as much freedom as possible, and as you can see, they kind of mingle with the adults, and they copy us, they copy our behavior, they copy our thinking. This is what we would like to see in them in the future, because only through imitating the kind of good patterns of behavior, which we would like to think that we're good enough, will you be able to get closer to this level of freedom that we have in our mind? Because I think we're not there yet. Like, we cannot be fully free, but our kids...
Children are the future.
Exactly.
That's a very important thing to know.
Right. Yeah, I think like Norway, even though it's like fairly liberal in Norway to do homeschooling, we don't have a long history, and not a lot of people do it. Like in the US, you can get tutors cheaply for everything, like mathematics and music and whatever. And I think that's a thing missing. And I think, but if as we're growing this libertarian, I used the word libertarian because it's a encompassing word that includes more than just voluntarist. Because I want to include everybody, because there's, I mean, I myself, I grew up in a socialist country. I was a socialist when I grew up, right? And there's a lot of libertarians who believe still that they can influence the government, right? But eventually, like we want them to come over to become pure anarchists and pure voluntarists. But I think as we're growing, like you could come to you could go to Liberland or LIBERSTAD for a few months, and you can educate people, and some of our people could come down, and like Daniel here could teach the children how to weld, how to do the electrics, electronics. And it would be super cool. Like, so in the class, Daniel could come in there and can show how to get his hair stand up for electric shock.
I'd like to watch that.
That'd be fun.
What not to do?
Yeah, oh no.
Exactly. Like,
there's some YouTubers that.
Like TikTok. Yeah, you should go on TikTok with this kind of content. This will attract new people, teenagers.
Yeah.
How soon do you think we'll be able to rest on our laurels? Like, how soon will we be able to say, okay, so we've done enough?
I think never. I think it's a forever struggle, freedom, and because there will always be people that totally will not, and will always try, because it's about power. Government is about power, and they will not give up. So it's. But there will be a time maybe that there will be a balance, that we can balance it out, and that their power over that is growing will fail, and that they only can keep the power over what they have, and that we have our own free lives. So, but I don't think that's something that will happen in 1 or 2 years. That will have to grow.
Well, I agree with Daniel. I also believe that it exists today. You can be completely free if you want to. You can just move into Montelibero, or you can go to Liberland or LIBERSTAD or anywhere else, and you can be completely and absolutely free. No problem at all. So I think we've already done it. We are at the stage that you can live free. You need to sacrifice some luxuries in life. And the struggle will go on forever, but I think like it's possible today to live a lot more free than our own parents did. But you have to take the leap, right? There's a lot of people, they're still sitting there online, and it's like, if there's anyone watching this show, right, I just want to give this message, like, I understand your struggle sitting there online discussing with people and not sort of finding your place, and just my message is just go seek out these communities and meet those people there, and you will be so much more happy, so much more relaxed, so much less stress, right? Even though we have the overhanging ability, or like that government could come and stop us at any given moment, right? I don't care. I don't think that too much about that, right? I'm so stress free in my life. I'm just relaxed, and I think like people that is like on this journey to getting out of the matrix.
I think the first step to freedom is to make time your friend. because if you have all the time, then they don't have power over you, and that's the whole thing. If you're in the system and you're stuck in it, you always think, I don't have time, I don't have time. And just change the mindset. I have all the time in the world.
Yes. And that's exactly a thing I often say to people. I don't like to talk about time, talk about energy. And I think I read an article about, I think it was Native Americans, and they were so dumbfounded by the white man that came and talked about, oh, he doesn't have time, right? So he didn't have time to anything. And they were like, but time just come all the time. There's abundance of time. Like time is the most abundant thing in the universe. It just keeps coming.
Yeah.
The problem is energy.
Right.
You need to focus your energy where you want to use your energy. So I obviously have this mental construct of time, but I like to use it as little as possible because it's all about energy. It's about where you focus our energy, because that's the limiting thing. Time is not limited at all. It is our energy, and we have a limited time span, and time span is the energy. We need to focus that.
Yeah, that's an eye-opener. Thank you. So let's put together all our energy to make this world we can only imagine a reality as soon as possible, and of course help our kids see this world and again make it come true. Yep. So yes, thank you. I think that was a great talk. We can actually round things up.
I want to come back again in the spring, probably on my motorcycle. It'd be nice
nice.
See the country.
Yeah, the kids will be excited.
Yeah, and then we want to reach out to everyone that's in the Montelibero community to come to Norway. You don't even have to tell us you're coming. Just come there and meet us.
Okay, that's really nice.
You can stay there. We can provide you with food or anything. It's nice to send us a message, obviously, but you don't need to. Just Google LIBERSTAD and you'll find like LIBERSTAD Drift on Google Maps, and you'll find it. And it's cheap living up there. Like it's
nice.
It's not comparable to the prices you have in the rest of Norway.
Yeah,
that's one of the things we want to focus on. Like we want to make things as cheap as possible, and because like you can save a lot of money if you're brewing your own beer. And we obviously need to import stuff from Norway because we're not producing everything yet, but we're opening a bakery soon. So then we have a bakery and we have a brewery, make our own firewood, and there's other businesses we own. So if anyone want to come, stay for as long as they want to, just come. If they want to open a business or do something, please come as well.
Also, if you see some guys, sporting a Montelibero polo shirt or sweatshirt, this message has found like some members in our community who actually wanted to come and pay a visit.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Well, the best of luck to you guys with all the new businesses. I hope you really grow big, so that the government wouldn't be able to really oppress you, and that's what we are also trying to do here.
That's
so
very nice.
All right. Thank you. So it was a really nice talk. Thank you for joining us here in the studio in the first club of Montelibero. This was Sondre, one of the founders of LIBERSTAD, and Daniel, one of our guests of Montelibero and and of course residents of LIBERSTAD. I hope you like it here.
I like it here, yes.
Right, thank you. And this has been Birken as usual. Thank you so much, guys. See ya. Bye.
Then I can ask you a couple of questions. So you moved to LIBERSTAD 2 years ago, right?
Yes.
So what was your first impression, the first couple of weeks you came there, compared to your view now 2 years later?
My first impression was amazing nature, and very friendly people.
Yeah.
And in a way that is still a base that is still there.
Yeah.
It didn't change for me.
It's the same now?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I only made very good friends and better friends there.
Yeah. That's nice.
Yeah.
We'll see if they want to keep this or not.